Hi, everybody. Meteorologist Amy Sweezy here with Florida Weather Authority. It is July. It is Florida. And yes, it is hot. I know it is something that we always know if you've lived here for any amount of time. But as we head into this upcoming week, right after the holiday, we have some extreme heat headed our way. Couple of things going on. We've got some drier air coming in, a dry plume, a dust plume that's coming over from Africa that will be impacting our weather. That's going to lower our chance for rain this week. And of course, when we don't get the afternoon clouds and rain, that allows that really hot sun to send our temperatures soaring. And that is why we are going to even be in the upper 90s before this week is through. So let's get right to it. We'll start off here by talking about some of the numbers. First of all, in the state of Florida today, look at these numbers at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Most of us in the low to mid 90s, 96 even in Jacksonville. And as we go in a little bit closer to just central Florida, what you'll be able to see is, yeah, some of these numbers at 3 p.m., 92 for Orlando, a couple of spots in the 80s, and that's because we will see a few pockets of rain and storms developing today, which of course cools the temperatures while it's raining. So we are going to be in the lower 90s. We'll take a look at some of those high temperatures here coming up. But because of the heat that we're anticipating, that is why we have a level 3 for heat risk today. What does that mean? Well, we've got 4 levels. 4 is the most extreme level. So we're almost there. And we may actually see some parts of Central Florida getting into those extreme levels by the time we get to the end of this week. But for today, we're under the 3 major heat risk. And that basically means that there is a major risk to anyone who is exposed to the sun and outdoor and active, maybe exercising, anyone that's in a heat sensitive group, the elderly, children. If you don't have proper hydration, if you're not drinking enough water, of course, not other liquids, but water is most important. You don't have adequate cooling. You can't be in the shade. You can't be in the air conditioning. And of course, that is key in Central Florida this time of year. So what do? Well, you drink lots of water. You wear light clothes. Stay inside if you can. But if you do work outside or you're outside for any length of time, just make sure that you take a lot of frequent breaks. Because when we get to levels 3 and 4, that's when we start talking about heat illness and heat exhaustion and heat stroke. And it's something that we would talk about once in a while a few years ago. But now with all of this intense heat every summer, it's something that we're definitely talking about more often. So just some of the signs so that you're aware: heat exhaustion. If you start feeling dizzy, very thirsty, you're sweating a lot, you start feeling nauseated or very weak, that means that you likely have heat exhaustion and you need to get in the shade, get inside, and get some water. Heat stroke is all the symptoms of heat exhaustion, those symptoms, but you also add in starting to feel very confused, possibly fainting, even becoming unconscious. If you are with someone and any of those things are happening, you need to take action immediately. Move to a cooler area like the shade or indoors. Wear loose clothes, of course. Remove those extra layers. If there are any, take off your hat, take off your shoes and socks. Sip some cool water. Cover up with cool rags or even some ice water. And then if symptoms don't improve, especially if you get in that heat stroke symptoms like the confusion, the fainting, someone's unconscious, then you need to immediately call 911. So just a couple of good reminders for those of us. I know we always say, oh, we're in Florida, we're fine. But these are some serious conditions that you need to keep in mind. So obviously it's the rain that we look forward to this time of year in order to help cool us down a little bit. And today's chance of rain, basically 40-50% across much of Central Florida. So that means Sanford at some point today has a 50% chance of getting some showers. The rain is not going to be everywhere. There will be plenty of locations that do not see the showers and storms. In fact, when you look at our rain forecast, this is one of our computer models that just shows sort of the scattered nature. I wouldn't believe this 100%, like these are definitely the spots that are going to get rain, but it does give you the idea that there will be some places that get rain and there will be some places that don't get rain. So again, about 40 to 50% chance as we head through this Tuesday afternoon. So, where are the rain and the storms most likely to set up for today? I'm going to switch over to a different graphic here so that I can show you this computer model. And what I want you to notice, first of all, is that up here in the left-hand corner of the screen, that's my attempt at an arrow there, drawing an arrow, 1 o'clock on Tuesday. Notice already seeing some showers and storms along the Gulf Coast in the early afternoon. In fact, we've had rain this morning along the Gulf Coast already, but that is going to continue. So keep an eye on that clock as I move this forward in time here, just hour by hour. There's 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Notice today's trend is for the showers and storms to start along the Gulf Coast and then push over inland and make their way toward the East Coast as we head through the late afternoon and evening. So 5 o'clock, again, not everybody getting rain. In fact, only a few pockets of showers and storms expected today. Around 6 o'clock, right around the I-4 corridor. So if you are going to be traveling, if you are heading home from work, maybe heading out to dinner, just kind of keep that in mind. By 7 o'clock, we're still seeing at least a few scattered showers and some isolated thunderstorms. 8 o'clock, we're getting closer to sunset. We start seeing that rain begin to fall apart. And then by 9 o'clock, we're past sunset, and that's when we lose the heat of the day, and we really start to see all of those showers and storms winding down. Now, I'll put this forward in time overnight just so that you can see as we get into Wednesday morning that we're really not seeing the morning rain that we had today along the Gulf Coast. And then once we get into the early afternoon, we start seeing, again, west to east movement with the showers and storms starting along the turnpike, pushing over closer to I-4 once we get to the late afternoon and evening. But notice the rain coverage, once again, is fairly low. In fact, even a little lower on Wednesday than it will be on Tuesday. So not expecting, these big areas of rain. And in fact, we're going to continue seeing less and less rain as we head through the next couple of days and we get into Thursday, Friday, and into the upcoming weekend. I'll show you that here on the 7-day forecast in just a second. Do want to switch over now, though, to the severe storm outlook. You'll notice that there are some spots back out to the west, off to the north and west in parts of Montana and South Dakota, where there is a slight risk for severe weather today. But across the state of Florida, we are in this light green zone. What does that mean? Well, you'll see the legend there on the right, that it means that thunderstorms are possible. We'll likely see storms today, not just rain. And keep in mind that anytime you have thunderstorms, lightning, flooding threats, that's true with all storms. But once you start getting into the darker greens and the yellows, the marginal and the slight risk, that's when we're talking about severe thunderstorms. And there's actually criteria set for those. It has to do with the wind and it has to do with the hail. So you can see the different colors there on the screen indicating that we today are in this light green zone. We're not expecting severe storms to develop, but we will likely have some lightning and even the possibility of some flooding as well. So some things to keep in mind as we head through this Tuesday. All right, let's talk about the 7-day forecast because there is that lower chance for rain. And notice how Thursday and Friday, when we only see a 20% chance of storms, the temperatures get even hotter. We'll be in the mid 90s, even the upper 90s. And I have these numbers on here specifically for Orlando, but I do think there'll be some spots once we get into Thursday, Friday, Saturday that will hit 97, 98, even possibly 99. This is going to be extremely hot. And of course, when you factor in the humidity, we'll be talking about the heat index numbers anywhere from at least 100 up to 105, even 110 or hotter. So if we do start getting into those zones later this week, you'll likely see some heat advisories that are posted. Those don't happen all the time in Central Florida, but we'll certainly be talking about the potential for that as we head toward the weekend. Now, the weekend chance for rain is a little bit higher. The dust plume that's coming across from Africa over the Atlantic. It happens every year. We get different plumes at different times. It makes the sunsets more extreme. Have you noticed the sunsets have been very pretty the last couple of days? More purples, more reds, more oranges. That's going to continue. So get your cameras ready at sunset once we get into Thursday and Friday. But of course, along with the dust, yes, the pretty sunsets, but it does have a problem with our air quality. It makes our air quality worse. And then it also lowers our chance for rain, which means that our temperatures begin to climb as well. So definitely a hot week ahead. We are going to keep you posted here with updates whenever there's something major going on here in Central Florida. And of course, as we continue through right now, a relatively quiet hurricane season. No updates or threats at the moment, and nothing expected over the next 7 days. But of course, at Florida Weather Authority, we will certainly keep you posted. I am meteorologist Amy Sweezy. Thank you so much for joining me. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and of course, we invite you to subscribe to Florida Weather Authority.